Jay here, and today I'm going to do my review on Moon Knight. Yes, I know I'm late, and I apologize for that. Things have been pretty busy, and I just realized I forgot to do this review, and it's surprising that I forgot because I really love this series. But anyway, here I am, and here I am going to do the review for Moon Knight. So as usual, this will be a slightly spoiler review. So if you haven't watched the series, go and watch it and come back when you have watched it. If you don't care about spoilers or you already watched the series, feel free to continue on watching this video. So let's get into it. Moon Knight is a series about this character called Marc Spector / Stephen Grant, and this character basically has DID, and it's a trippy show to say the least. And what's fun about this series is it feels very much different from what we usually get from the MCU. I mean, this word has been said every single time a new series come out, but for this case, it really feels that way because this series leans a lot into the thriller, into the horror, into the mystery aspect. And even though sometimes it does go back to the MCU roots, it feels different for the most part, and I think that's what the MCU really needs right now. It needs different. It needs a different taste, and I think this series does that. So I'm going to talk about the story and the pacing of the series first. And first off, I'm going to start with how I like each episode. I really liked the first and second episode. Third episode was a bit weak in terms of writing. Fourth and fifth were emotionally strong episodes. Especially the fifth episode, that was the emotional peak of it. Like, no Marvel series has gotten me this emotional while watching. I mean, the fifth episode was just stellar. As for the sixth episode, it was a bit of a rush episode. I mean, I really liked it, and it didn't diminish my liking of the series at all, but I could tell that it was rushed, and I wish that it was done in a better way, but that was how it is. Visuals and cinematography, I would say that the visuals, the special effects, does look a bit weak at some times, and it's not the greatest at some time, but at other time it was pretty good. And as for the cinematography, I will say, in order to get the thriller aspect right, the camera movement is a very important thing, and I think that the series does it well. And at times, it made the show look grand. And talking about grand, I must mention the score because the score was great. And I think this might be my favorite score out of all the MCU series so far, even more than Loki. And there's a quality that just feels so cinematic to the score that make me enjoy it so much. Now going into the characters, I'm going to talk about just three: Marc/Steven, Arthur, Harold, and Layla. So first, of course I'm going to talk about the main character of Moon Knight. Moon Knight himself, Marc Spector / Stephen Grant / Jake Lockley. Yes, there's a lot of characters, but anyway, I really like how this series started off with Stephen, getting us to like the character, getting us to know the character before introducing in Marc, because Marc is a character that doesn't really speak about himself a lot, and if the show were to start with Marc, I think that would be a very hard introduction to do. With Steven, he's a more relatable character, and the character study of Marc/Steven, I think it was really done well, and this series really focuses on Moon Knight himself. I mean, with all the other MCU series, there always been cases of the focus being directed away from the main characters because of either side characters or world building, but this series, it didn't feel that way, and Moon Knight has most of the focus for every episode, and that is a very good thing. Character I'm going to talk about is Layla, and she's a character that really surprised me. Like, I expected her to be kind of more of a side character person, but then in the final, we know what happened. She became Scarlet Scarab, and this was an arc for her. Though not as big as Marc Spector himself, but there was an arc for her, and it worked quite well. The show really did a good job at balancing the character arcs around so that she didn't take too much focus away from Marc Spector, and that is what it did well. Now I'm going to talk about the main villain of the series, Arthur Harrow. A character that seemed to have so much promise in the first half of the show, only to be just a generic villain by the end of it. And okay, I get it, they didn't want to take too much focus away from Marc himself, and granted, it did work for Marc, but as for Arthur, I was really hoping to see a more deep dive into the character, but all we got was what we got in the first few episodes, and that's a little disappointing. But to say, this character is probably one of the better MCU villains, but just it didn't get enough time to shine. Despite some of my nitpicks of this show and some of the flaws I had with this series, I really enjoyed Moon Knight, and I will go as far to say that this is my new favorite MCU series. Better than Loki, better than The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, better than WandaVision. I really like Moon Knight that much. But anyway, what do you think about the series? Do you like it as much as I did? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below.